cord to this computer. All right. Well, hi, ladies. Michele Molitor here. Welcome to Wonder Woman Unite on February 17th, 2017. So delighted you can be here. Monique, your face is just adorable. You're just all smiley. I love it. She's muted. She can't, nobody can hear her, but she's in the car riding.
I just wanted to cut out my background noise, but I think it's funny you say that because I feel really sweaty just leaving the gym.
Oh, you're beautiful, girl. Don't you worry about a thing. Don't you worry about a thing. Don't you worry about it. Sorry, I can't sing. That's all right. I'll give that up. I was saying to Craig on the way down here, in my next life, I'm going to be able to sing. He's like, you can sing. I'm like, well, not like that. I can't sing. He's like, okay, whatever. So I always like to go around the room and see who's here. So who are you? Where are you? And what's one thing you're passionate about? And see who else is popping in, and we'll go from there. So Angie, is your mic still not working? So if that's the case, nope. Okay, so I'll introduce Angie. She is a dear friend of mine. She lives in Atlanta, Georgia. She's an amazing financial planner and is a little tiny thing, Spitfire, and I adore her. And she is passionate about helping kids. She runs a golf tournament every year to raise money for the Children's Hospital, right? I believe that's right, Angie. So let's see. Miss Jen, how about you? Two bits about you.
2 bits. Hi, I'm Jen Berkeley Jackson, and I run a research business. So I help companies, get insights about their customers through all sorts of tools, surveys, etc., telephone interviewing. And another bit about me. Oh gosh, I don't know. I've got 4 grandkids, and I'm too young to have them. How's that?
That's awesome. That is awesome. And let's see, Monique, tell us a little bit about you. What makes your heart on fire?
And I am now living in southern Utah, beautiful, gorgeous southern Utah in New Harmony with my wonderful husband. And we just moved up here about a year ago. So we're still in a beautiful transition stage in our lives. And I'm a life coach, started that a couple of years ago. Love it, passionate about it, empowering women, really tapping into their true power and who they are. And as far as another aspect of, I'm very passionate about, I'm a very physical person, and I'm just really using, connecting in nature and the divine through the physicality is a big part of my life.
Nice. We have lots to talk about, girl. Lots to talk about.
Good.
We'll have to have a little virtual coffee chat.
I would love it.
All right. Well, we'll set up some time for that. And it looks like Mary has joined us on the call. Welcome, Mary.
Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Okay, great.
We're just introducing ourselves, who you are, where you are, and what's something you're passionate about.
Okay, I'm Mary Turos. I'm north of Baltimore, Maryland, and I'm a neurobehaviorist, and I specialize in helping people overcome brain challenges or self-doubt using neuroscience as the intervention tool, and passionate about helping people achieve and bringing equality for everybody, to everybody.
Fabulous. Thank you, dear. All right. And I am Michele Molitor, and my company is Nectar Consulting. I started Wonder Woman Unite from a download as I get them. Start your own group, as I was looking into Lean in Circles last summer. And like Monique, I'm really passionate about helping women step into their power and reclaim their confidence and get out of their own way. And I was guided to start this group to connect with more women and see what I could create with it. So I'm really excited to see how it's unfolding. It's just kind of makes me giddy every month. Like, wow. So this year alone, we've jumped by 50 new members just in the
Wow.
last 2 months. So we're up to 145 members as of yesterday. That's 18 new members just in the month of February. And yeah, I'm always amazed. We've got some really interesting women from India who are popping in and all over the place. So, and one of them, and I'm y'all just forgive me because I'm really bad with people's names. So unless it's tattooed on your forehead, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna forget it unless I've known you like Angie for 25 plus years. So, but she wrote a beautiful blog article about it. It's up on the Facebook page. If you haven't checked into the Facebook page, then please do. You can see it. It's really great. And yeah, so if you guys ever want to contribute blog articles to the group, just let me know. You post up on Facebook or post up on the social feed. I would love that. The more we all contribute to the social feed and the Facebook page, the more conversation and interaction we have going, the better off we're going to be. The more experts we get to share, which brings me to my next fun announcement. Back in December, I had shared with you all that I wanted to create another call each month called the Expert Hour. And that'll be an opportunity for individuals in the group to show up and lead a call for an hour, sharing some of their expertise and insights and wisdom that they want to put out there to the group. So I had a great conversation this week with Mary, and Mary is going to kick off the Expert Hour for us starting in March on Friday, March 24th at, did we say 9 or 9:30, Mary? I think we said 9 a.m., right?
Yeah, I think we have it as 9 a.m. your time. So.
Yeah, so 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern time. And Mary, why don't you just give them a snippet of what you're going to be sharing with us?
Sure. So essentially, I think I'm going to title the topic as defragging our brains, because I work with a lot of kids and professionals, and it seems like nobody ever has enough time to do anything. And as Michele was saying, we're sometimes our own worst enemies. So as far as time management goes, we're always giving, especially as women. I think we're conditioned to give to others before we really sit down and set our own boundaries. So there's a lot of neuroscience coming out, especially since smartphone technology has kind of invaded our space, and our brains have just not evolutionarily been able to catch up with the technology. So there are things that we can do to maximize the efficiency of the time that we do have. And I can give you all the neurochemicals that are bouncing out of your brain and around your brain and all of that stuff. But how to just make you feel like you do have more time in the day, and present some of the research that's coming out. It's pretty fascinating stuff. That's getting meta-analysis of study after study after study of how technology can be our friend, but really it's impacting our brains to make us less efficient, which is not the goal of any of this. So that's it in a nutshell. And yeah.
Great. Well, I'm super excited. I'm going to be in the front row seat because I'm a total science geek and I've been really getting into the whole neuroscience of all of this work as a coach myself. So I'm like, yay, that sounds so exciting. Little geeky's like, oh, yay. Super fun. So awesome. Well, today I thought it would be great for us to talk about how do we create more meaning in our work? How do we create more meaningful work for ourselves? Because in the 16 years I've been a coach, that's always, it continually comes back to that as a core driver for people. And, I'm unhappy in my work. I'm unhappy in my career, my relationships, whatever it is, there's always something, people show up to get help with, right?
Mhm.
And what I've found is that when we can come back to the very baseline of what are our core drivers, what are the things that are really, really important to us, we can have a much better compass or stake in the ground from which to operate from to navigate those other challenges in our world. And so I'm curious to know, for you ladies, when you've hit those walls, so to speak, in your world, oftentimes what is it that is the frustration that is the thing that's not working, that has you go, something needs to change? Any thoughts on that?
Well, for me, it used to be I'd hit the wall and I'd get sick. I'd get a really bad sinus infection. And that really led me to make some, again, it's all about boundaries, right? Because we're all in a profession that presumably we love doing. So it kind of blurs the lines of what's fun and what's work. At least for me it is, because it's every day is interesting. But I think taking on too much sometimes can physically overtax us or mentally overtax us. And so I think it's good to, instead of reacting in the situations for when that happens, for me anyway, it's been really good to really just focus on what can I do to prevent that, so I don't overburden myself, so I don't create stress, so I'm not losing work time because I take on too much work time. And does that make sense? So I'm really sitting down and looking for triggers, like what can I do to refresh myself so that I can be better at what I'm doing for others and for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So basically just taking some time. It doesn't feel like productive time in the moment, but it turns out to be quite productive in the long run.
Oh, that's a really great point. That's a really great point. I remember when I very first hired a coach to help me figure out what to do next, because I had hit a very hard wall in my career as a creative director in web development. And one of the very first questions he asked me was, well, what are your core values? I was like, oh, what? That's a really interesting question. I never thought about that. Let me think about that for a minute. And what I discovered was, oh, no wonder I was unhappy, because my core values of really making a difference and being of service wasn't being honored in the work that I was doing. And I was having anxiety attacks and I was really frustrated. And so it was kind of this big aha for me. And so in that sense, I've used that as a baseline for all the work that I do with anybody. Is what are your core values? What are the things that are really, really important to you? So I don't know if you guys had a chance, but let me just do a quick screen share of this core values worksheet that I sent out to everyone. For those of you who are on your phones or on your computers, you can see this, but for those of you who are on your phones, basically I just pulled up my values worksheet, operating from your compelling why. And it's a list of various values. Mm-hmm. And, take some time, if you haven't had a chance yet, to just go through it and check off the values that are important to you. And this is not an exhaustive list, obviously, but add in the ones that are important to you if you don't see them here. And then you can scroll down, and the third page asks you to identify, okay, out of all the ones that you've chosen, what are your top 5? What are the very top 5 most important values to you that you want to live, eat, and breathe and operate from each day? And then from there, you can then evaluate that. So I have a value of creativity. And if I'm not being able to do something creative on a daily basis, then my rating of that would be low. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, wow, I get to live it every single day, and 1 being, not so much. So that way it just gives you a snapshot of how well you're actually honoring your own values through your work, your daily life. And if it's below a 5, well, then you need to look at that and go, what do I need to do to shift or change that, right? Because it's what I found, and like you were saying, Mary, is that when your values are out of alignment, if they're at cross purposes with the work that you're actually doing, then that's where all that stress and tension and dis-ease and disease can manifest, because your spirit is not being honored. And I've learned the hard way myself, and my back has gone out and various things. So I'm curious as to the rest of you. Have you ever had something happen where your body was finally like, I've had it. I'm not going to work anymore for you until you get this right, or you make a change? So anybody else had that happen?
That used to happen to me all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I've learned to really honor
Thanks.
when my body is telling me, even if it's as much as, okay, you need to take a nap now.
Right.
I guess it was Tuesday. I had a meeting I had to go to. No, it was Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. And I had it. It was fine. It was all great. And then it took me over an hour to get home because traffic was all mucked up. And I got home and I'm like, must lay down now. Because otherwise, if you're operating from foggy brain, then nothing ever gets done very well in the first place.
Right.
You're like redoing, or I was talking with a colleague last night at a dinner meeting, and she's like, yeah, I had food poisoning and I was still trying to work because I couldn't drive home because I kept vomiting. So she's like, so I was sending off an email to a board member, but she was never really, I thought she was the new board member, but she hadn't got elected. So I made a major faux pas because I sent this email to her like, welcome to the board. She's like, you didn't elect me to the board. Oh. So don't work on bad brain. That's all I'm saying. Bad things happen and you make mistakes. So how do you guys how have you created more meaning in your work for yourself when you're feeling off?
This is Jen. One of my key values is relationships and teamwork, and part of my craziness about my business is it's really too much for me to handle right now. And so what I do to build more fun and soul filling in it is I bring in people that I know and love to work with me. So I'm really fortunate that I've got some of colleagues that I've worked with 30 years ago, friends I went to college with that have the perfect talents to help with some of the work that I'm doing. And we just have a lot of fun. And I know it's helping them financially. It's helping me business-wise. And it's way more fun than, trying to plug through and do it all myself or say no to projects because I can't handle it all. So that's it's really been helpful and fulfilling in many ways.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? I hate, Angie, that your mic's not working because she always has such great insights to share. You can type it in the chat box, Angie, if you want, and I'll translate. I can read it in my best Southern accent, too.
I'll chime in, and I'd love to build on it. I'm not sure if it was Mary or if it was Jen. I'm not sure who was bringing it up about the, you push sometimes, and recognizing, your body is trying to tell you, stop, slow down, and how often you're spot on. And I think a lot of women tend to just push through that signal. Our bodies, our health is trying to you're like sending these beacons out, like slow down, sleep, whatever it is. And eventually our bodies will take us out when we don't. And it sounds like most of us have been there. And so building on that and tying that in with one of my values is health and well-being. And it's a huge value. I mean, it's a very core value for me. And recognizing those same type of signals that were mentioned, that if I start getting to that place of building up, and I'm feeling that overwhelm, and that whether it be the anxiety from it, but just feeling that sense of overwhelm, and I know I created, and I also know that, okay, that's my signal to chill out, take a break. I need to go for a run. I need to do something to shift that. Otherwise, I'll go into a meltdown. And so it brings me back to releasing it, connecting back to the health and well-being part of what I need to do. And then when I'm out for a run, then I can kind of think through, like, what am I doing here? And what's the purpose of putting more on my plate? What am I really wanting to be about? You know, is it, and so it also gives me a chance to pause and breathe and say, what am I really wanting to say yes to? And you don't have to say yes to everything. So what I'm pulling that into the part about work now is realizing that there's so many amazing things out there, so many great organizations and causes and people. Well, I feel like I'm coming to that place in life where I can say, I'm saying no to you. It's not that it's not good, but it's because I'm saying yes to a bigger balance in life, health and well-being. I'm saying yes to having spots in my calendar that allow me to breathe and to meditate and to do what all those other things that are really important that sustain my health and well-being. And that's what's really important for me to bring into my work, for me to be the best that I can be that day, so I truly can be fully present for my clients, for my family, for my friends, and for myself. So that's kind of my weave of all of your questions.
Yeah, no, that's really, really great. I appreciate you sharing that. And you know, everybody has their own way. Angie wrote in the chat box, energy is a very hard topic. My work requires a high level of focus and is very calendar driven. So most of the time I can't take a nap or have a down day. I might take a brisk walk around the office, but I can't break away for more than that. And that is challenging. And excuse me, you know, when you're in an office setting, it makes that much, much more difficult. And so you have to find other ways to manage your energy and those levels.
You can always find a way around it. So it doesn't necessarily mean that if you're in an office setting, because I help people do this all the time. So it doesn't necessarily mean if you're in a 9 to 5 office setting, you have to take your break during those work hours, or like I have very odd hours. There are some days I'm working 8 in the morning to 10 at night, you know, but I have to carve out. So what I find helpful is it's all about planning, you know, so maybe if you're right in the thick of it in the moment, you can't do something this week, but when you have to take some time to work on your business and not just work in your business, right? So some of what I find helpful is when I'm working with clients or even with myself, I treat myself like a client, and I literally schedule time in my calendar for my appointment with myself. And, you know, over the years, I've gotten much better about holding firm to that, because a lot of times, you know, I like what I do. So I'd say like, yeah, I'll work you in at the sacrifice of myself, right? So I still have days that are really long and really require a lot of mental focus, but maybe you don't necessarily do something that day, or you do it at 4 a.m, you know what I mean? Like, so if you have to be somewhere at 6 a.m, your time, you find a way to make it work if you want it bad enough. You know what I mean? That's what I see. I think sometimes we have conflicted goals. Like, I want to work out at the gym at 6 o'clock, but I want to sleep in. Well, you can't have both. So you do have to, you know what I mean? So you do have to make a decision at some point. But but even if you're working, like crazy hours, you can always carve out a little bit of time just to get back to you. Yeah, so I think we find a lot of excuses why we can't do it, but really the big internal block is usually ourselves and our preconceived ideas. Nobody is that important that you can't take 20 minutes to do something for yourself once in a while.
Absolutely.
Can
Yeah. No, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify a point because I can't hear her voice. When I was expressing about what works for me, I just wanted to realize that I certainly was not intending to project that be something someone else do. That's just, I know now that that's what allows for me. So I just want to make sure that was clear, that that's just what was working for me. And 3 years ago when I was working for another person, I couldn't do that in the middle of the day. So I totally understand Angie's her position.
Yeah, no, and I totally get it too. When I worked in the corporate setting, there was no nap taking. Although
Cool.
My very first job as a graphic designer, I had a boss, Kathy. She would sometimes take naps under her desk because people couldn't see her in her office because it, had a front face to it. It's hilarious. Like, where's Kathy? I don't know. Oh, she's under the desk taking a nap.
Yeah, I've taken naps in my car. In the parking lot of Panera, I put my sunglasses on. Lean back, put my headphones on, and need to recharge.
Yeah, I also love it when the universe conspires to help you. Like yesterday, I was supposed to have a client call in the afternoon, and she emailed me the day before and said, she'd lost her voice. Like last time we were on this call, I had no voice. She's in that place now. She's like, can we move it? I'm like, perfect, because then I was overwhelmed yesterday. So it's like, I love how things just move and slide around, and I've learned like, not to sweat it, and it's all perfect, because then there is that spaciousness. It kind of flexes and moves and sways for us, and allows you to create better self-care. But I'm a big subscriber to that philosophy too, Mary, of scheduling time in to take time for yourself. And it took me a long time, I think, to not feel guilty about it. When I very first left corporate America and was a consultant working on my own, I would feel guilty about walking the dog in the middle of the day, like, someone going to tell on me? Am I going to get in trouble from the consulting police? And I was like, oh no, okay, I'm in charge, so it's all good. But yeah, it's when we don't listen to our bodies that we get in a whole heap of mess. And so I had a question and now it just disappeared. Wait for it. It'll come back in a minute. Anyway, the question will come back to me. So Angie, you're really mindful of your schedule to make sure that you get the sleep that you need to get so that you can be really on your game. The other question I wanted to ask was, so how do you guys manage your energy through like the food and stuff that you're eating? What have you noticed around that?
Huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Say more.
I first of all, talk about passions. Nutrition is a huge passion of mine, and I've been, in it for probably since I've been in the early 80s in college. And so a lot of personal experimentation with that, recognizing sugar is a drug. It is like heroin. It's for me, it's highly addictive, and it clearly is linked to my moods. So it's not about the calories as such. People say, oh, let her have a piece, she can burn it off. It's not about burning it off the calories. It's knowing that in 3 or 4 days, I'm like the gremlin. Clearly know a strong connection. If the minute I start having any form of sugar other than fruit, but like the processed sugar, that's what I'm talking about. It affects the moods, and I do believe that's true for most people. They just may not recognize it. So sugar's a big thing. I recognize that, the impact of various foods on my body, and therefore the moods, the energy level, and come back to self-care is, if I know that, then I'm at choice if I'm choosing to, okay, am I going to deal with knowing that this is the impact it's going to have on me or not? And so I think that there is a huge connection to the wholesome food, the choice of foods, and the impact on your energy levels, your moods, your effects of relationships. To me, there's a huge correlation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I've learned, I'm alert. I have a certain slight, not extreme food allergies, but there's certain things that I can't eat during the middle of the day, and I'm really sensitive to sugar. I'm not, is it hypoglycemic? I'm like just below the line, so I eat little bits throughout the day. But even if I have, like, you're at a business meeting and they serve, pasta and this, and then they have cookies, and I've gotten really good about resisting the urge, but every once in a while I'll have I'm just going to have a little bite, right? And then an hour later I'll be like,
Yeah.
the whole head bobbing thing, which is the worst, especially when you're sitting next to your boss. Not a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, just say no to the sugar. And he says, I eat plenty of meat and vegetables to provide nutrition, but I really abuse sugar. I'm in Atlanta and I drink too much Coca-Cola. Yeah, well, sometimes a good Coca-Cola does a body good. At least your brain for a moment, and then it all goes to hell. But that's another topic.
It's American.
Yeah. Yes. Mary, I wanted to ask you, because you said earlier it's really just a choice, right? If you want to get these things done during the day to have meaning and purpose and value in your work, you have to be willing to say yes to some things and no to other things. So I used to get up and go to work out at boot camp at 6 a.m. every morning, or 3 times a week. And I'd have to get up at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm not that early of a morning person. I would literally have a friend call me and wake me up at 5:30. And it worked great for a while. And then one day I was like, I just don't like getting up that early. I don't want to go anymore. So
and that's, I think, the underlying thing. From a neuroscience point of view, your brain hyper focuses on the things that you believe you can do. So there's a saying, you believe you become what you believe and what you do.
Yeah.
Right? So those neural connections start wiring together and firing a lot more quickly. But, I think sometimes people put out a goal that they want to do something when subconsciously they know very well that they don't really want to do it.
That's a good point.
If that makes sense. It does. So, and the easiest analogy to make is when I talk with kids about their grades, for example. So they'll say something else. I'll ask them the question, what will you earn in algebra? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, what will you earn? Not what do you want to earn, not what could you earn, not what do you hope to earn, but what will you earn? Because if you tell me you believe you're an A student,
then you're an A student.
Then you're going to do behaviors that lead you to be an A student. But if you tell me you want an A, but you really believe you're a C student, you can't override science. You can't override nature. You're going to naturally gravitate towards behaviors that kind of give you a false excuse. That's why when people say to you, oh, let's try to get together soon. You never get together with them. Or let's try to, I'll try to call you tonight. Because you can't measure trying. You can only measure what you want and what you don't want, or what you do, and the Yoda principle, right?
So do not. There is no try.
Yeah, right. And this makes people furious at me when they first meet me, because because I'm pushing back on them and making them feel uncomfortable. But really, that's what you got to break through: your own self-defeating, your own excuses. And I'm as guilty of it as anybody else. Like I say, I don't want to eat cookies, and then I buy cookies. What the hell? Who's buying cookies? Me. Who's eating them? Me. See, something's
Yeah. I love it, Mary. I'm over here laughing and smiling because I haven't run into too many people who get that concept that you're describing of the try. It's like, well, try is just that. It's not going to happen. If you say you can't, you're right. You can. If you say you can, you're right. You can. And I'm a big proponent about, your behaviors are reinforcing your thoughts. And so I love the way you're speaking to.
So Mary, when you're working with a student or an adult and they're in that place of try, how do you get them to overcome their own inertia to get to, okay, I can do this. Like, I think I can, but I can. It's actually doing it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, that it's the whole language, the whole psychology of success, right? So first of all, you got to change your language to yourself. And some of the things that when I work with a client or work with a family, I have non-negotiables. So if they don't do like these 3 mantras that I have, they're not going to be successful with me, and I end up ending the relationship until they are ready. I always leave the door.
I'm sorry.
Pretty much. But basically I make them use the language, and I correct them, because you don't realize how many times you use that self-defeating behavior, and it's reinforced in educational systems, and it's reinforced sometimes in office settings, like, let's give it a try. Well, what does that even mean? How are you measure? It's not measurable. If it's not measurable, it's not worth it. So some of it's just continuously monitoring and correcting when I meet with a client, when they'll say, I'll try to do, and I'm like, no, what are you going to do? So that's step 1. But step 2 is really starting to get them to identify what it is that is holding them back. So, and I'll use myself as an example, because like I said, I'm the worst. But so I didn't want to work 7 days a week for a year. Right? It seems reasonable, right? But for a long time, I would do it because I'd kind of like make an excuse, like, oh, it's only an hour, or oh, I'm near the grocery store, I can just pop in the hospital, and right. But I would bitch about it, even though I love doing it. Like if I got up on a Sunday morning, I'm like, I really do not feel like going and doing this, and my husband would push back on me, and he's like, well, what would you tell your own client? He's like, why are you scheduling appointments on a Sunday if you don't want to work on a Sunday? And I'm like, because they need me. And so it got to the point where, something I had to follow through on my own stuff. So step 1 is the language. Step 2 is developing a mantra of self-talk, and really maybe talking it through with somebody who can challenge you a little bit, because we get comfortable with ourselves, and we always give ourselves like some leeway. Yeah, well, this happened. Yeah, well, that happened. But sometimes you need somebody who's just like, well, why did it happen? You said you were going to do this. You did this. What the heck? And when people have to explain that, sometimes it gives them a different perspective. It's not very comfortable in the beginning. But you need discomfort, you need frustration, you need a little bit of angst to get to the next level, or else you're always going to be kind of like, you're never going to break that threshold. So
yep.
That's what I see anyway.
Change is uncomfortable, but it gets us to that next level. Angie's shared with us here, a lot of time people are not clear about what they need to do to make something happen, outlining a specific game plan that will result in the A if in a class. Often once you implement something systematic, whatever problem someone has shows up.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Like if people have like these lofty ideas, and once you crystallize it into actionable items, then you can really see, well, yeah, I can do this, or no, I can't do this. And then if you can't do it, you just change your goal. Mm-hmm. So it empowers you. It's instead of overwhelms you. So that's my 2 cents.
Hey, Michelle, this is Jen. I just wanted to add something to that.
Yeah.
I think building on that then once you know what you need to do, then like changing habits. So I have not been a workout person. And Michele knows I set a goal for myself last fall that was crazy big, but I did it. And it wasn't like I was going to run a marathon or anything like that, but it was that I was going to work out every day for 50 days. And by putting that stake in the sand, and oh, by the way, putting on Facebook that I was committing to that and having my tribe keep me and support me and keep me to my goal, it changed my mindset. It developed a new habit. Am I going every day now? No, I'm going 3 to 4 days a week, which is way different than what my life was like 6 months ago. And it helped prove to me that I could, and it helped train me about what I needed to do to make it possible and carve out the time. And it just created a new behavior. I think we've all heard that thing of if you do something for 21 days in a row, it's going to be more of a habit. And I went farther than that, but I think that's part of it, that once you know, then you need to like drill into yourself doing it, like almost like a check off the box every day in your calendar that you're doing it. And then it becomes more part of your normal way of being.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, I'm totally with you. I was doing so well. My back went out a few years, I guess it's been about 4 years ago. And that was a huge wake up call for me about being mindful of how I was managing my emotions and my energy, because I was stuffing all my emotions and it blew up my back literally. And so once I got past that, I'm like, okay, we're working out regularly. And I was doing really, really well. And then I kind of fell off the wagon at the end of October, and then the election happened.
Yeah.
And I've been a little despondent since then. And then I've been sick for the last month. So I'm like, as soon as I can breathe fully, I'm going back to the gym. I can do it. So this week, ladies, I'll get back to the gym.
Okay, I'll hold you accountable, Michele.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Mary. Angie wrote, as an advisor, people are not clear about the steps they need to take to create a stable financial situation. Once we get started, they quickly see what the issue is. I wish I could break this up so it's not one long string. And then she wrote it to me over here on my iPhone too. So we got you, Angie. We're covered. It's all good. We can do one long string. No worries. Yeah, so making sure that we have systems in place for ourselves so that we can manage our time, manage our energy, manage our mindset, because the food we put in our body impacts our brain, and the exercise that we do or do not get impacts our brain and our ability to show up fully to do the work that we really want to be doing. Just for me, because I got sick and then I was almost better, and then I got sick again, and whatever it is, it was just draining my energy. And it was like I would go like, oh, I'm better, and then no, I have to take a nap now. Yeah. And it's been really frustrating for me because my brain hasn't been like fully functioning, and I'm a pretty fast thinker, and I'm a big, a lot of doing happening, and can get a lot done in a day. And so when I have to ratchet it down, I'm like, oh, I didn't check off nearly as many things on, I have this long to-do list of things. I'm like, dang. And then conversely, I have to go, say to myself, I'll get done today what I get done today, and I won't get any more done today than what I get done today. And that'll be that, right? And then I'll do more tomorrow. But I've found that if we can stop beating ourselves up about what we're not getting done, and just like, okay, great, celebrate the wins of what you did accomplish in a given day, and then give yourself that space to take time to heal or whatever is going on, right? For me, it's been like, all right, apparently my body needs me to slow down. So that's what I'm going to do for a little bit, and then I'll get back up. So it's all good.
I love what you said at the very end, and you took the words out of my mouth, Michele, when you said that, shifting that perspective on celebrating what you did get done, focusing on this is what it was today. opposed to having the beat up language of, oh, I didn't get it all done. And, ties into what you're focusing on. And there's a huge, Brene Brown really speaks well to that shift to, this is what it is today. And when you were speaking about it, what came to me was that part about self-compassion, self-acceptance. There's a huge component there about saying that this is what I planned for today. This is my intention. And by the end of the day, and this is what my day was. And it's beautiful. What I did or did not accomplish is not connected to my self-worth. It has to do maybe with the value I contribute to the world, however you define that world, but it's that aspect of, it doesn't mean that I'm not a worthy person because I didn't check off everything on my list. And
Right.
Big distinction.
That is a huge distinction. Thank you, Monique, for really underscoring that, because it took me years to understand that, to pull those things apart. And I know that's a big thing for women in particular.
Yeah.
That it is,
Yeah.
if I can't be Superwoman every single day, then I'm bad and wrong and I'm not worthy. And that's not true at all. Not
And,
right.
part of it is also, I don't know about you, but sometimes I just, even if I have a day off or whatever, I over plan what I think I can do. You know what I mean? We all do it. And so I think you guys made a good point that you can only get so much done in a time period. You're not, you're not, you got to sleep, you got to eat, you got to think about things for a little bit. And I know with me, like, my to-do list is never ending. I'm sure yours is equally long. So it's like, well, if I get to, so what I've done is I've kind of done a triage, like, this must get done.
What's the highest priority that absolutely has to get done with this amount of energy that I have left in my tank?
Yeah. And then when I get to, like, the last of it, it's like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that today. I'm gonna read a book or watch a movie or go running or something.
I think a lot of it,
myself to do that, because you're
giving
right.
yourself permission.
Yeah.
Giving yourself permission for what's needed. One of the things I picked up from Lance Armstrong, it was, what does your 100% look like? And so one of the things I brought to my, when I was doing personal training, and it was, what is it today? What's your 100% today? No comparison to yesterday.
Right.
No comparison to what you think it, quote, should be.
Right.
We all, like, you guys are talking about your energy levels, and, there are days you're really tired. There are days maybe you didn't eat well. There are all sorts of things. What is it today? Just accept your 100%, the best that you have for today. Period. No comparison, no competition, nothing to prove. Just, are you able to show up fully today, and what does that look like? And it's really all we're asking. I think we get so caught up with, oh, I didn't lift enough today, or I didn't or I didn't do all this today.
I could have done better.
Or, oh, I'm up 5 pounds. So it's like, we kill ourselves. Yeah. We kill ourselves with all the comparisons and the shoulds, opposed to let go of the excuses, accept, yes, I'm tired, and this is the best I have to give today. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Absolutely. I was gonna ask Monique, that's a really, really great point. Is that something you might be willing to write a little something about and post into the Facebook page or onto the social feed? Because I know we all need to be reminded of that, right?
I'll do that. And unfortunately, this will trigger me, because sometimes I speak and I go, I'm not really sure what I spoke. When I speak from and I speak
through us, doesn't it? It kind of comes through us. And you're like,
open my mouth. And,
well, you can listen to the recording. Yes. You can go back and listen to her recording. And
yes, that's always, I know, I get that all the time. Clients are like, can you repeat that? No.
What did I just say?
No, I don't know what I just said. It just kind of comes out. I was going to share this with you guys too, and I've shared it before, but I put a link there in the chat box. It's a link to a guided meditation that I created, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago now, called a meditation for abundance. And I found it's a great way. I use it myself to just get grounded. Like, you clear out your energy, your chakras, you take moment of gratitude, there's a whole forgiveness and reconciliation piece to it. And then it's about future pacing. What do you want 3 years from now? What do you want your life to look like? Your work, your life, your career, whatever. And then what do you have to do today to start making that a reality? And then just calling in your guide, your support, your spirit, whatever shape or form that looks like for you, to really support you in creating that day. And then the other thing that I found to be really, really helpful, and it created some amazing shifts in my life. Really, I can't even begin to tell you the shifts it created. But back in December, in November, I was regularly waking up in the middle of the night with anxiety because of the whole election thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, what can I do to shift this? So like one night in the literally middle of the night, my brain started twirling. I'm like, okay, go to gratitude. That'll help. Right. So then I created this 31-day gratitude challenge for the month of December. So every day I was posting or doing a live FaceTime on Facebook, and or posting a quote or something, and just to remind myself, like, oh, what am I grateful for today? Because when you can bring yourself back to that place, I found that it's much easier to be able to give yourself that full permission and be like, okay, well, I got this done. I might not have gotten that done, but apparently that's just what needed to happen today. Because there's something else I need to do tomorrow. And it's given me a lot more peace at the end of the day, instead of like, oh, as you were saying, Monique, beating myself up because I didn't do all these other things. Like, well, it'll get done eventually, and in its own right time, and not a moment before.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
So what is, based on our conversation today, ladies, what's one thing that you might want to put into place for yourself to create that deeper level of meaning and value in your work, so that all of you feels really well used?
Say that again.
So what is one thing that you want to, put on your list to be mindful of, or to do, whether it's an action or a thought process, so that you can create a richer level of meaning and value in your work and how you share that with the world?
For me, it would just be to find the joy. I feel like you, since the election, I've kind of been dealing with a lot of anger management. So for me, it's more about looking at what is beautiful, what is good, because there is still more good out in the world than bad. I truly believe that. So,
thank goodness.
I gotta believe that. That's all. So that's been helpful. And again, it's in their all connections,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Who else? Miss Jen?
I think one thing we haven't talked about, I'm bringing it up out of the blue, but sometimes the fear of failure or fear of not providing the best product, or that I'm not the right person for a project, can get in the way of my joy of my work. And so I think just reminding myself and literally visually putting up in front of me things customers have said about what makes me fun to work with, good to work with, a quality solution, and all of that, just constantly reminding myself that I am doing great work and I am the right person for the job.
Right.
Oh, that's a great idea. Put some raving fan love notes on the wall.
Fan letters.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
Yep.
How about you, Monique?
It's really nothing that I want to add on. I think it's building on what I've started to create. and commit to the beginning of the year. This year for me is a year of value, like self-value, and really digging deep in a lot of stuff that's around that. So it's more of that, really honoring the personal connection to myself and the divine within, divine without, in knowing knowing how I get grounded in my morning rituals of, just clearing my chakras, getting grounded in the spirituality and staying connected to that. It's the physical, emotional, spiritual, mental roundedness and interconnectedness that start my day there before I start listening to the news. News it gets me off balance, but I can handle, and I'm able to be more grounded in anything that comes at me if I start my day grounded in that practice.
Mm-hmm.
So really staying committed to that.
That's a really great point. It's like, I can really appreciate that, because I have some practices, but I don't do them regularly, consistently, in the same way every single day.
Yeah. And I don't do them the same way every day, because every day is a new day. And this is something I'm glad you brought that up, because this just kind of came to me. It's like, what I did yesterday may not work for me today. It's a new day. But knowing that I'm open to, what is it that the spirits, what is it that's wanting me to, what is it that I need to lean into today? What's the message? What's calling forth today? But I think what is the same is creating that space to be quiet, be still, and to hear and to lean into your soul's calling. Just sharing.
No, that's a great point, because you had me catch myself on making myself wrong about not doing it the right way. Like, look at that.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing it just the way I need to do it, apparently, and when I need to change that, it'll change.
Yeah.
Not a moment before.
Yeah.
Miss Angie, anything you want to share through the chat box with us, or on my cell phone, whichever moves your boat? Or did you have to jump off? No, you're still on there. I'm good here. Okay, beautiful. Well, wonderful. Well, I hope you guys have found this conversation enriching and helpful, and has given you some good reminders. I'm reminded to get back to my gratitude challenge and have fun with it and make a game of it, because the more I do that, the better I feel, and the more magical things show up. And I'm all about making magic. So, all right. So mark your calendars. Our next call is going to be St. Patty's Day, March 17th. Same bat time, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 noon Eastern time, and 5:30 UK, British UK. And please, if you have thoughts along this that you want to share in the Facebook group or in the social feed, please do. We really want to create more engagement, and I'll be posting the recording from this up to the private Wonder Woman page on my website under the Hive. So check that out if you need to go back and have a listen, so you can write what you're going to write, Monica. And all the other recordings are up there too, so you can go back and listen to the other calls that you've missed.
Great.
Other resources up there too. So any other questions, thoughts, last minutes?
No, it's been good.
No? All right. Well, thank you, ladies, so much. It's always an honor to have you on this call with me. It's my pure joy, and I look forward to talking with you guys again next month. And Monica, I'll send you a link if really I would love to talk with you offline and just hear more about your practice and whatnot.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks, Michelle. Sounds
All
good.
right. You guys have a blessed day, and
All right,
we'll
you guys too.
talk next week or next
All
month.
right.
Everybody.
Bye.
Drive safe.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.